Dr. Elias Vane sat in his dimly lit study, staring at the sleek holographic letter hovering above his desk. The message was succinct, its words shimmering in an otherworldly blue light. Dr. Elias Vane, your exemplary contributions to medicine have been observed beyond the confines of Earth. The Galactic Medical Alliance hereby invites you to join its esteemed ranks. Your expertise is vital to advancing interspecies healthcare across the galaxy. A transport will arrive at the designated coordinates in 3 days. We eagerly await your response. Elias leaned back in his chair, his fingers tapping rhythmically against the mahogany surface. The idea of leaving Earth, his home and battlefield, was both exhilarating and daunting. Earth was a death world, a planet where survival was a daily challenge. Its environment had honed humanity into a resilient species, capable of enduring extremes that would render most alien races helpless. Yet, despite the hardships, Elias had thrived. He had built a reputation as one of Earth's finest physicians, often taking on cases that others deemed hopeless. The invitation was a surprise, but it wasn't entirely unexpected. Over the years, whispers of humanity's medical prowess had trickled into the galaxy. Tales of Earth's harsh environment and its inhabitants' ingenuity in overcoming nature's cruelty had captured the attention of the Galactic Medical Alliance. Elias had read about the Alliance in passing, a coalition of the most advanced medical minds from countless species dedicated to the betterment of galactic health. But their methods were said to be cautious, almost timid by Earth standards. The prospect of introducing humanity's bold, sometimes brutal, approach to medicine intrigued him. He spent the next 2 days in quiet contemplation, balancing his attachment to Earth with the allure of the unknown. His friends and colleagues had mixed reactions. Some encouraged him, seeing it as an opportunity to elevate Earth's standing in the galaxy. Others warned against the dangers of venturing into alien territories, where humanity was still a mystery to many and a threat to some. On the 3rd day, Elias stood at the coordinates specified in the message. The transport ship was unlike anything he'd seen before. Its smooth, iridescent surface shimmered in the sunlight, and its design was both elegant and alien. As the ship's hatch opened, a figure emerged, tall, with elongated limbs and skin that seemed to ripple like liquid silver. The alien introduced itself as Korath, the liaison assigned to accompany Elias to the Alliance's central hub. The journey was surreal. Inside the ship, Elias marveled at the advanced technology, which made Earth's cutting-edge equipment look primitive. Korath was polite but reserved, observing Elias with a mixture of curiosity and caution. Their conversations were brief, limited to essential topics, but Elias could sense the unspoken questions lingering in the alien's mind. When they arrived at the central hub, Elias was unprepared for the scale of the structure. The station was a colossal, multi-layered construct orbiting a binary star system. Its design was a blend of aesthetics and functionality, with sprawling medical facilities, research labs, and living quarters for the diverse species that called it home. As he stepped off the transport, Elias felt the weight of countless eyes on him. The station's inhabitants had gathered to witness the arrival of the Deathworlder doctor. Their reactions were a mix of awe, fear, and skepticism. Elias could hear the hushed murmurs in alien tongues, their tones ranging from curiosity to alarm. He walked with measured steps, his gaze scanning the crowd. He was used to being an outsider, but this was a new level of isolation. He was not just a stranger, he was an anomaly. As Elias made his way through the station, Korath guided him to his quarters, explaining the layout and the schedule for his orientation. The alien's voice was calm, but Elias could detect a hint of unease. It became clear that his presence was as much a test for the Alliance as it was for him. The orientation began the next day, introducing Elias to the station's protocols and the basic physiology of its most common inhabitants. The diversity was staggering. Each species had evolved in unique environments, resulting in vastly different biological systems. What was a mild irritant to one species could be lethal to another. Elias found himself fascinated by the challenges this presented, but he also recognized the limitations of the Alliance's cautious approach to medicine. His first real test came sooner than expected. While walking through the bustling spaceport, Elias heard a commotion. A small crowd had gathered a rapsed alien, its skin a sickly shade of green. The onlookers seemed paralyzed, unsure of how to proceed. Elias pushed through the crowd and knelt beside the alien. Its breathing was shallow, and its pulse was weak. "What happened?" Elias asked, his voice firm but calm. A nearby alien hesitated before replying. "This species is sensitive to certain compounds." Elias quickly assessed the situation. The alien's body temperature was dropping, and its extremities were turning blue. He reached into his bag, which he had insisted on carrying despite the station's assurances that their medical facilities were sufficient. Pulling out a portable oxygen mask and a vial of epinephrine, he administered the treatment with practiced efficiency. The alien's condition stabilized within minutes, and its breathing normalized. The crowd watched in stunned silence as Elias stood up, his hands stained with the alien's blood. "Get them to the medical bay for further observation," he instructed. The onlookers obeyed, their expressions a mix of relief and astonishment. Word of the incident spread quickly. Some praised Elias for his quick thinking and decisiveness, while others whispered about the recklessness of his methods. In the days that followed, Elias continued to navigate the delicate balance between Earth's bold approach and the Alliance's cautious traditions. Despite the challenges, Elias found himself drawn to the potential of the Alliance. The diversity of its inhabitants offered a wealth of knowledge and opportunities for innovation. He resolved to prove that Earth's resilience and ingenuity could be a force for good in the galaxy. Little did he know, his journey was only beginning, and his presence would soon reshape the very foundations of interspecies medicine. Elias's success did not shield him from the realities of working within the Galactic Medical Alliance. The bureaucracy, with its endless layers of regulation, was a stark contrast to the urgency and adaptability he was accustomed to on Earth. Each procedure required approval from multiple committees, and experimental treatments were often dismissed outright, regardless of their potential. His growing reputation only added to the tension. While many alien doctors admired his unorthodox methods and undeniable results, others viewed him with suspicion. They saw his Deathworlder resilience as an unfair advantage, one that highlighted their own vulnerabilities. The more Elias excelled, the more resistance he encountered from the GMA leadership. One particular clash arose during a case involving a species known as the Tyberans. Their delicate physiology made them highly susceptible to infections that Earth's immune systems would easily fend off. A Tyberan patient had developed a severe infection, and the standard treatments were failing. Elias proposed a more aggressive approach, inspired by Earth's methods of tackling antibiotic-resistant bacteria. The GMA board, however, was hesitant. They argued that the risks were too great and the procedure too untested. "With respect," Elias said during the heated meeting, "you're condemning this patient to die by doing nothing. Earth's history is full of examples where taking calculated risks has saved lives. I'm not suggesting recklessness, I'm suggesting action." The board's response was as expected, a firm denial. Frustrated, But undeterred, Elias turned to his colleagues for support. Among them was Dr. Lirea, a Qatari surgeon who had become one of his closest allies. Lirea shared his frustration with the GMA's rigidity and often collaborated with him on cases that pushed the boundaries of traditional medicine. Together, they decided to proceed with the treatment in secret, knowing the consequences if they were caught. The procedure was risky, requiring precision and a deep understanding of both Tyveran and Earth physiology. Over several tense hours, they worked tirelessly, with Elias guiding the process and Lirea handling the delicate instrumentation. When the procedure was complete, the patient's condition stabilized, and the infection began to recede. News of the success spread quickly, but so did word of their defiance. The GMA leadership summoned Elias and Lirea for a formal hearing, accusing them of endangering the patient and violating protocol. Elias stood his ground, presenting the evidence of the patient's recovery and arguing that adherence to outdated rules would have resulted in a preventable death. The hearing ended with a compromise. While the board reprimanded them for their actions, they also recognized the need to review and update some of their protocols. It was a small victory, but it reinforced Elias's belief that change was possible, even within the rigid structure of the GMA. Here's the continuation of the story from Chapter 8, delving into Elias's betrayal, redemption, and eventual legendary status. The air in the medical center was still as Elias reviewed the latest data on the galactic plague. He had worked tirelessly for weeks, poring over samples, cross-referencing genetic markers, and testing compounds in search of a cure. His research was perilously close to a breakthrough, but something gnawed at the back of his mind, a subtle unease that he couldn't quite place. The GMA leadership had grown increasingly evasive, and his trusted colleague, Dr. Krenner, had been uncharacteristically distant. Krenner was a Saralin, a race known for their analytical minds and unwavering loyalty to the Alliance. Over the past year, Elias had come to rely on Krenner's insights and precision. Together, they had navigated the complexities of interspecies medicine, building a rapport despite their differences. Yet, recent encounters had been curt, their conversations stilted, and Krenner's gaze often drifted to someone unseen. Late one evening, Elias decided to confront him. In the quiet solitude of the research wing, he found Krenner hunched over a terminal, his six-fingered hands moving with an urgency that betrayed his usual composure. "Krenner," Elias said, stepping into the light. "We need to talk." Krenner stiffened but didn't turn. "Elias, what brings you here at this hour?" "Call it intuition," Elias replied. "You've been avoiding me, and something doesn't feel right." "What's going on?" Krenner sighed, his shoulders slumping. "You wouldn't understand. You're not from here." "Try me," Elias said, crossing his arms. "I've seen enough bureaucracy and backroom deals to recognize when something stinks." "Are you going to tell me, or do I need to find out the hard way?" Krenner hesitated, then finally turned to face him. "Elias, you're too close to this. You don't understand the stakes. The galactic plague isn't just a medical crisis, it's a political weapon." Elias's heart sank. "What are you talking about?" "Plague," Krenner said, his voice barely above a whisper. "It's not natural. It was engineered. Certain factions within the GMA are using it to consolidate power. They're exploiting the fear and chaos to push their agenda, and you're a threat to their plans." The revelation hit Elias like a physical blow. "You knew this? You've been working with them?" "I had no choice," Krenner snapped, his voice rising. "They hold sway over everything, the funding, the resources, even the lives of my family. If I resisted, they would destroy me. But I didn't tell them everything. I kept your research hidden as long as I could. Elias's mind raced. The data anomalies, the delays in approvals, the sudden shortages of critical supplies, it all made sense now. "You betrayed me," he said, his voice low and cold. "And you betrayed the billions depending on us." Krenner looked away, shame etched on his face. "I thought I could control it. I thought I could protect you and the research. But they're on to us now, Elias. They know how close you are, and they won't let you finish." The sound of approaching footsteps shattered the silence. Elias glanced at the door, then back at Krenner. "Is this it? Is this where they take me?" Krenner shook his head. "No. This is where you run. I've arranged for a shuttle. It's waiting in Dock 17. Go now." Elias stared at him, torn between anger and gratitude. "Why are you helping me?" "'Cause you're our only hope," Krenner said, his voice trembling. "If anyone can stop them, it's you." Without another word, Elias turned and fled. The hallways were eerily empty, the station's usual bustle replaced by an oppressive silence. As he approached Dock 17, he spotted the shuttle, a nondescript craft designed for stealth. Inside, he found Loraya waiting, her expression a mix of relief and determination. "Loraya," Elias said, his breath ragged. "How?" "Krenner contacted me," she said. "Told me everything. We don't have much time." The shuttle's engines roared to life, and they launched into the void, leaving the station behind. As they sped through hyperspace, Elias and Loraya pored over the data Krenner had smuggled out. The evidence was damning. Genetic markers linking the plague to a bioweapon program, communications detailing the conspiracy, and records of bribes paid to key GMA officials. Armed with the truth, Elias knew their next move. They would expose the conspiracy, but first, they needed a cure. Over the next several weeks, they worked tirelessly, using the data to refine Elias's earlier research. It was grueling work, made even more dangerous by the knowledge that they were being hunted. Finally, their efforts bore fruit. The cure, a complex antiviral compound designed to target the engineered pathogen, was ready. But distributing it on a galactic scale would require resources and allies they didn't have. Elias and Loraya reached out to trusted contacts, rallying a network of medics, scientists, and activists willing to risk everything to save billions. They broadcast the evidence, exposing the conspiracy and rallying public support. The galaxy erupted in outrage, and the conspirators scrambled to contain the fallout. The final act of Elias's mission came at great personal risk. He and Loraya infiltrated the GMA's central hub, using the station's advanced infrastructure to distribute the cure across the galaxy. It was a daring operation, fraught with danger, but their efforts paid off. The plague was eradicated, and the conspirators were brought to justice. In the aftermath, Elias was hailed as a hero. His name became synonymous with resilience and courage, his actions cementing his place in history as the legendary Deathworlder doctor. Offers poured in from across the galaxy, but Elias declined them all. Instead, he chose to continue his journey, bringing Earth's hard-earned knowledge to those in need and inspiring a new generation of healers. His story was far from over, but his legacy was already written among the stars.